American television personality and author Philip Calvin McGraw, better known by his stage name Dr. Phil, is most recognized for hosting the talk show Dr. Phil. He has a degree in clinical psychology. Critics of the controversial clinical psychologist Dr. Phil contend that he has created a living by taking advantage of the tragedies of others. I mean, who can forget the 2008 ambush at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center when the troubled singer was at her lowest point? Or when, 8 years later, he purportedly conducted an entertainment interview with a very upset Shelley Duvall. Numerous clients who learned the hard way that discussing your issues on national television isn't the best way to fix them have sued the celebrity psychologist. The TV personality has had his share of struggles throughout his own colorful life. From challenging upbringings and unsuccessful careers to hurtful accusations and health concerns. So let's talk about his tragic life. Dr. Phil was homeless as a young child. It's possible that Dr. Phil now has an amazing $460 million fortune. The TV star, however, has also lived at the opposite end of the financial range. In fact, he and his father were homeless for a short while when he was 12 years old. Dr. Phil disclosed in a 2020 audio interview with Always Evolving with coach Mike Bayer that his family was so impoverished that they were unable to relocate his mother and 3 sisters when his father, Joseph J. McGraw Jr., accepted a psychology internship in Kansas City. There was no money for anything, and when I say anything, I mean anything. And residing in the Plains equivalent of Paris was part of that. Before they were able to secure a 1-bedroom apartment, Dr. Phil and his father spent the entire summer living in their car. Even this was devoid of any comforts of home. We had nothing, not heat, electricity, or anything else. We didn't get utilities until January, after moving in September. Dr. Phil was raised with an alcoholic father. On Dr. Phil's own television program, the topic of alcoholism was frequently discussed. Furthermore, having grown up with a father who struggled with alcoholism, the clinical psychologist had a wealth of knowledge on the issue. In a 2016 episode, an open Dr. Phil talked about how he can identify to his guests who have parents who are alcoholics. I understand what it's like when your dad gets into trouble for drinking. I am aware that you don't bring your pals home. Because you never know what to expect when you answer the door, you don't bring your pals home. Dr. Phil gave a specific example of how his own father had left him emotionally scarred as a child in an episode where Richie Lewis's family confronted the former baseball player about his alcohol consumption. The time he returned home with a group of friends to find his father asleep on the driveway, in his underwear with his pillow, and it was 24 degrees out. In the end, the star was discouraged from adopting a similar lifestyle by instances such as these. In fact, the professional psychologist claimed to have abstained from alcohol for 45 years in 2014. Dr. Phil was identified as having type 2 diabetes. When energy levels began to decline regularly in the early 1990s, Dr. Phil had to see a totally different kind of doctor. The TV star was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes following a comprehensive medical test. The clinical psychologist stated, I was relieved to know what I was dealing with and needed to manage, in an interview with Future of Personal Health. I had to drastically alter my way of life, and I began by assembling a treatment team, comprising my family and myself, around my doctor, and altering both what and how I ate. I've been taking good care of my health. Though not always simple, it is always achievable. Dr. Phil said, my personal challenge is that I sometimes find myself on camera for long periods of time, making it difficult to stay with small meals spread throughout the day, in response to a question about how diabetes affects him on a daily basis. I extend my intervals beyond what is ideal as a result. The celebrity has contributed to the launch of multiple campaigns aimed at promoting awareness and combating the condition, such as the online instructional program on it, by drawing on his personal experiences. When Dr. Phil was a child, he saw domestic abuse. Dr. Phil and his spouse Robin McGraw hold a deep concern for the problem of domestic abuse. The latter established the charity When Georgia Smiled with the goal of assisting victims in getting over their experiences. The 2020 interview with Always Evolving with coach Mike Bayer saw the former disclose that he had personally witnessed it as a child. The professional psychologist candidly discussed his upbringing with his mother and father Joseph, describing it as complete pandemonium. Well, yelling, screaming, violence, he clarified when asked what this meant precisely. Domestic violence, battles. Things ripped off the walls and ripped up. When Dr. Phil was younger and returning from junior high school, he would enter the family home in an odd way. I had a really small room in our house and I came and went through the bedroom window, I didn't go through the house. As a result, instead of entering my room by the front door and walking down the hall, I would enter through the bedroom window. I went out the bedroom window in the morning before leaving for school. Mistakenly, Dr. Phil was charged with domestic violence. It's safe to say that Dr. Phil has never had the greatest admirer in the National Enquirer. Over the years, The tabloid newspaper has run a number of scandalous tales about the clinical psychologist. However, after being pushed a bit too far, the celebrity made the decision to fight back in 2016. The supermarket favorite was accused of verbally and physically abusing Dr. Phil's wife, Robin McGraw, and as a result, Dr. Phil launched a lawsuit against her. The offensive story further claimed, all of which were unfounded, that the TV personality had attacked a man with a beer cup in his college years back in the early 1970s and that the couple was about to file for divorce. The National Enquirer, Star, and other American Media Incorporated publications have been publishing outrageous lies about Dr. and Mrs. McGraw, their marriage, their integrity, and their character for years. They have finally come to the conclusion that enough is enough and that too much is too much, according to an official statement released by the couple's attorney Lynn Wood, which was obtained by CBS News. A representative for American Media Incorporated, the company that publishes the National Enquirer, later confirmed to BuzzFeed News that the lawsuit has been resolved to the mutual satisfaction of all the parties without providing any further details. Dr. Phil's sporting goals were dashed by an eye injury. Dr. Phil wanted to be a football player before he decided to become a psychologist like his dad. He rose to prominence as a linebacker at Kansas Shawnee Mission North High School and later became a standout player at the University of Tulsa, where he played for former Brooklyn Dodger Glenn Dobbs. Unfortunately, an injury that momentarily rendered Dr. Phil blind in one eye dealt a devastating setback to his dreams of becoming a professional. With a patch over his healthy eye to improve vision in the damaged one, the TV celebrity began wearing an eye patch in an effort to fulfill his aim of maintaining his vision. Deanna McGraw, the elder sister, stated in an interview with Newsweek that her brother's blindness was merely a bother. That's how Phil tends to look at things. You have two options: finish it and go on, or just sit around and retch. Unfortunately, Dr. Phil's strategy was unsuccessful, but television benefited from football's defeat as it encouraged him to pursue a career in psychology. So viewers, that is the tragic life of Dr. Phil's. For the next update, please subscribe our channel. Thanks for watching.